That's true, my fellow eagle. So I want to, I don't know if any of you have your Bible, but I want to, it's funny we talk about Joshua. I want to go to Joshua chapter 9. If you have it. So I want to just give you a little background about myself. I was raised by my aunt. My aunt's a missionary, and I had a lot of issues growing up, just really feeling like my aunt or my family didn't care. Just if any of you know anybody that has a foster kid, it's like there's a lot of issues foster kids have because they're, oh, you got me on camera. They're constantly like trying to find out what love is and what that, love from their parents and all that. So I had a really strong bond with my brother, and my mom has 12 kids altogether and 7 brothers. And so my brother is always into action figures and superheroes and, got me into it. And so now we kind of like watch Smallville and just all about action. And when in my reading of the Word, I realized, especially when you look at the Old Testament, there's so much action. It's like, it's just scams and, murder and victory. It's like, it's very exciting if you really look at it. And in Joshua, I think it's interesting, like how it really talks about in chapter 9, the Gibeonite trickery. So it's like what in that day would be scams, And if you read the story in chapter 9, it really talks about back to Joshua was supposed to be following God's way. He had a commandment on what to do, and he was supposed to do it. In this particular case, and it's kind of violent, but I gave you the warning that I was, kind of into all that action. So he says that he's telling Joshua what he's supposed to do. God tells him that he's supposed to go in and kill, and specifically, he's supposed to kill the Gibeonites. And the Gibeonites, they hear about what's going on. They're excited. They're like, you know what? They killed this people, and they killed that people, and you know what? We don't want them to kill us. So what they decided to do was they tricked. They said, you know what? We're gonna make them think that we're from a faraway land and that we just on the road traveling. So then they won't kill us if they think that we're nearby people. And so they even had to the point of having old bread. And they said, well, see, look, taste our bread. So when Joshua tasted the bread, he said, well, you can't. They must be, from far away. They can't be the people that we're supposed to kill. And so that's what happens in chapter 9. I invite you to read it because it's kind of juicy. In just chapter 12, it says, Gibeonite says, look at our bread. On the day we left home to come to you, it was warm and fresh, but now it is dry and moldy. Look at our leather wine bags. They were new and filled with wine, but now they are cracked and old. Our clothes and sandals are worn out from the long journey. So they had got all, got dusty, and they were ready. Now, to me, that kind of made me think about some of the scams that we have nowadays. And how some people out of protection or for whatever reason we come into encounter with, especially in the business world, people that try to get over. And so that just made me mindful of like this has been happening forever. It's not just a new millennium thing, it's always happened. So just because you hear about identity theft now and things like that, it's been going on for a while. So the men in verse 14, the men of Israel tasted the bread, but they did not ask the Lord what to do. So that's what stopped. When I read that, I was like, they did not ask the Lord what to do. And it made me think about in our business decisions, in our personal decisions, how many times do we not ask the Lord what to do? It's something common, he was probably tasting bread like, okay, then they must be. But even in my own life, I may do something in the smallest details and not ask God what to do. And so it really jumped out to me that's something that I need to pay attention to, and maybe you need to too. So Joshua agreed to make peace with the Gibeonites and let them live. And the leaders of the Israelites swore an oath to keep the agreement. And so they made a covenant. And you ministers know that Old Testament covenants were forever. Could not be broken. It was a lifetime oath. And so with that, they ended up, once they found out, and I'll skip a little bit further down, they find out that they actually lied. Joshua called for the Gibeonites in verse 22, it says, 22, and says, why did you lie to us? Your land was near our camp, but you told us you were from a far country. Now you will be placed under a curse and to be our slaves. You will have to cut wood and carry water for the house of my God. And the Gibeonites answered Joshua and said, we lied to you because we were afraid you would kill us. We heard the Lord your God commanded his servant Moses to give you all of this land and to kill all the people who lived in it. That is why we did this. Now you can decide what to do with us, whatever you think is right. So Joshua saved their lives by not allowing the Israelites to kill them, but he made the Gibeonites slaves. They cut wood and carried water for the Israelites, and they did it for the altar of the Lord, wherever he chose to be, and they are still doing this to this day. So when I think about that, sometimes the consequences we have are lifetime consequences, and we got to live with that. So that's something else that came to my mind. So that was just chapter 9, and I couldn't just stop reading there. It got juicy, so I'm like, what happened to the Gibeonites?